is cosmic. It's prehistorical. It is beyond human form, human size, uncontainable, eternal, infinite. It's just beyond anything human beings can articulate. But it was delivered to human beings, and it comments, and it inspires, and it frames human experience. There's a beautiful medrash that the Malachim were rebelling in Shemayim. Why should the Torah, which is so pure and so divine, be delivered to human beings who are so flawed and failed and fallen? And Hashem interjects and says, well, do you die? And the Malachim, of course, don't die. And do you have children? Do you bleed? Do you fail morally? Do you fail? Do you make mistakes? And because the Torah talks about death, and the Torah talks about children and family and illness and dysfunction. And so as broad as Torah is, and beyond time and beyond place, and that's why the Torah is delivered in a desert on a date whose actual day and identity we don't know from the Torah, it predates the universe by 2,000 years. It was delivered to human beings. And human history changes and human events unfold, and Torah always has to be not Chalil v'chas changed or altered, but refreshed and reconfigured to meet new needs and new generations. And if there's one thing that this yeshiva Chatzion has stood for, and really it's in the DNA of the yeshiva, is at the point when the yeshiva was formed, there's a sense that the traditions of the Torah world had to be maintained staunchly, and this yeshiva maintained and consolidated them. But things were changing. It was after the Holocaust and the state of Israel, and you can't build a yeshiva in 1968 and 69, assuming it's 1768. And Tanakh learning is of greater relevance because we're back in the land of history, and Machshav is of greater relevance because we're facing newfound theological questions of Emunah. And at some point, women have to be granted a meaningful entry into the world of Torah. And at some point, of course, the famous crying baby, at some point we have to close our Svarim in order to attend to the needs of our people, and hence this is where Hesder was formulated. It wasn't the first Hesder Yeshiva where Rav Amital was formulating an idea of Hesder that he wanted to propagate. And at some point you can't just create a closed yeshiva that's insulated from reality, but it's a yeshiva that has to affect society, and has to affect society in the immediate sense, the geographic sense that Gush is built. The Gush area has to blossom from this mountain. In a broader sense, we have to affect the society around us and build society. So many things were changing, and this yeshiva has always captured and distilled that traditionalism, and we don't alter our Masorah, and there's almost a very, very deep resistance towards too much dynamic change and reconfiguring, but a sense that the adaptation has to be altered with new periods and new eras. So that's a message which, of course, applies to every Shavuos. But I think the message is a little bit more apparent this year, because we've watched Torah change during the seismic shift of the coronavirus, and in our encountering seemingly unimaginable circumstances, predicaments and quandaries we couldn't dream of 2-3 months ago. And yet halacha has proven capable and flexible enough and elastic enough to offer solutions, very creative solutions, and in some cases to actually suspend mitzvahs that are very near and dear to us. Not mitzvahs per se, but davening with a minyan and joint seders. And halacha creates a very clear pyramid, and Torah is not ossified, and Torah is not inflexible, and it changes, and protecting our lives and protecting the lives of our communities became the highest priority. But it wasn't just the elasticity of halacha, it was also that we felt as if our management of this crisis, our processing of this crisis, was streamed through the prism of Torah, the prism of Hashem's will, through the prism of great people that we knew of. I know that I thought a lot about Rav Lichtenstein, and I thought a lot about Rav Amital, and the crises which they managed, which were very different than this crisis. Certainly this crisis didn't begin to capture what it must have been like to go through the Yom Kippur War, which is certainly the Holocaust, obviously, but to see the courage they mustered and the disposition they brought, and of course not just the great people that I've met in my life and that we've met in our lives, but also just Torah, Devar Hashem, thoughts about where we are in history. I've tried in some of my shiurim to provide some of this sense as well. But we felt as if Torah, as eternal as it is, much as it hovers and transcends above time, above place, beyond human experience, it's Kiyam Chayenu, V'arach Yameinu. It helps us walk through this world. It escorts us through this world. We have to redesign some aspects of it when the world changes. And when the world changes in ways that we can't always understand, halacha is there to brace us, and the Devar Hashem is there to frame our experiences and to provide the guidance and the wisdom. So, Chag Sameach, let's celebrate the cosmic nature of Torah. Certainly when the world feels less functional, it's easier to think about the cosmic world, the eternal world, and the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah. But let's also remember that we live in this world, and sometimes the world succeeds, sometimes the world stammers and staggers, and halacha is there, and Torah is there, and that's what we celebrate. HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amim V'Nosam Manu Es Torah. So, Chag Sameach.